Hello again. It's time for two amazing data scientists, Paweł Rudzki, Chief Engineer at Roche, author of many projects, and now also responsible for one of the largest R-based project within not only Roche, but in the entire pharma industry. He will be accompanied by Donny Unardi, engineering team lead, leading the development effort of a teal R package that is an open source framework that provides interactive and reproducible data analysis and visualization. I hope you already know this fantastic tool. It's time to navigate through teal with Paweł and Donny. The floor is yours.
Right, thanks for having us. So my name is Paweł and there is Donny alongside with me. We are working in Roche in the field of clinical trials, where we are developing R packages. Those R packages that we are doing falls back in the two categories. One of them is the static outputs for regulatory requirement, and the second one is interactive data visualizations. And guess what? We're going to talk about the latest. So this is concentrated around the package called teal. This is an agenda for today. We're gonna talk about the introduction, then history, present, future, and some closing remarks. So let's start with some quick introduction. So the goal for our work is, generally speaking, improve the efficiency of how do we work. And note that our company is a very big one with hundreds of data scientists out there. So let's stop and pause for a second and see how it is done currently. If you click next slide, so we have something called SAP, Statistical Analysis Plan, that lists all the required outputs that needs to be done. And that could include so-called overall survival rate, a typical Kaplan-Meier curve that you might know from your statistics classes at university. Then we might have another one, so-called progression-free survival rate. As you may see, this is a very similar tool set, but applied on the different data on different endpoints. And what has happened is that one oftentimes got some questions about repeating this on some subpopulations based on age, race, or sex, or anything like that. So our idea is wouldn't be so cool to combine it into an interactive applications where one will be able to choose the parameters interactively. That's especially critical for the latest subpopulation analysis, and repeat those redundant steps that is being done otherwise. So that's the whole idea of teal. So if you click the next slide, so what is teal? Teal formally is a package. It's our package. I used to call it a framework for creating a Shiny apps for study needs. And as its core, it's built around so-called modules, the extensions, the analysis screen that you have seen just before. So one can compose their own apps to meet the study-specific requirements. Note the difference. We are not shipping the ready-to-use applications. We are shipping the packages for our users, our programmers, who can then create their own applications. These include some critical features that are very critical in the context of pharma, which is this dynamic filtering facility, subpopulations analysis, as has been shown. Code reproducibly, a very fundamental piece in the context of pharma. Reporting engine, possibility to export this elsewhere, and many more. So where it is used, if you click the next slide, mostly clinical trials reporting, but actually not only. quite recently, we are observing more and more use cases from beyond. As an example, one team at our company applied teal for data quality visualizations, and they created their own modules, and it is so good that it has won some uh, Fuse Conference award recently. So that's a great example where one can take it and use it beyond our uh, anticipated use case. So let's move on. Uh, these are the landscape of the packages. So this is not one single package. There is actually a lot of more than that. On the left-hand side, we have got the core of the products, and on the right-hand side, we have modules. I don't want to go through each of them. We don't have much time, but just a preview of how the code is organized. But as a user, you can actually throw it away because the only thing you need is the top level teal modules XYZ package. Then the R dependency management can take it, understand it, and resolve the dependencies and install and attach everything it needs. So from the end user perspective, the only thing you need is teal modules XYZ. But if you wanted to extend this or deep dive into the code base, this is how it is being organized. Next slide, please. So a little bit of history of the teal. I promise I will be very quick one. It all started in 2017, even though the idea was, I was told the idea was there for a while. A very first commit in the repository was done by Adrian, 2017. If you click the next slide, 1 year later, we have a very first version of our tabling engine and teal.oncology. That is a fun fact. The product has been renamed. It is currently teal modules clinical, but at that point in time, it was teal.oncology. Move on. Next year, 2019, the whole idea, our budget holders liked the idea, and the project got funding, and we have established a development team and kickstart some very heavy development about this product. More mature tools, more mature processes. And note, why it's special? Because we are in pharma business units. We are not IT department, and that was very unique at that point in time. Then 2 years later, actually, a very big milestone that the code base has been open sourced. That kickstarts some industry-wide collaborations around teal, but even beyond. Then next year, teal was used in the very first R-based FDA submission. That is a great success in the world of R, and teal plays some part in it. Then 2 years later, we are finally on CRAN. So if you click the next slide, I put my super sophisticated slides creation. That is a celebration for us, as all of the packages are available on CRAN. That includes teal with its core 7 or 6 dependencies, as well as the modules packages. So we have released all of them on CRAN, and one can install and use it off CRAN, not GitHub anymore. Next slide. Sneak peek into the dev statistics. I know that almost all of us are data folks, so a very quick one to wrap up and squeeze that into one, just collapse the whole history into one table. That's the development statistics. I don't want to go over each of this, but just to show you that, for instance, teal modules clinical, one of the oldest packages we have, reached over 100 collaborators in Git, at least. We have changed so many lines, so many commits, and that shows off a rich history behind this product with changing the requirements as well as our internal learning process. So the next slide. I tried to wrap this up in the timeline preview, and that is showing the last 2 and something years, last years. And as you may see, on rows we have core features, and on x-axis we've got time. As you may see, each of this has been implemented at least twice, which shows off this changing the requirements as well as our internal learning process. We have released these packages so many times, but lastly, finally, wrap up all of those recent filter panel with data input refactors, which allows us to finally release these all on CRAN. And this slide wraps up nicely the history, and we can move on to the present. Tony, back to you.
Thanks, Pavel. You guys can hear me all right? All right, so as we venture through the history with teal with Pavel, now I'm going to bring you to the present state of the products. And in the past several years, we've made significant progress at tidying up our code base and try our best to improve teal's core feature by listening from our end user or feedback from the community. One of the improvement that we made, we try to provide a better design for code reproducibility. We created a new object called QEnv. So this is similar to its predecessor. If you're a veteran teal developer, usually it's called chunk. This object is also responsible for storing code and environment to create reproducible outputs. The difference is we redesign it using an S4 object, which is stricter and strongly typed. We also improve the way users pass code to the object by simply using a within function, which accept expressions, and the object that you declare in the expression will automatically be built. User can create more than one QEnv, and these objects can be joined and will be automatically validated upon joining them. So this is great. But the best part and the motivation of doing this is that we try to improve and enhance our Shiny interaction in the teal framework. So as for using a copy on modified semantics by default, meaning that if you modify the object, we automatically create a copy of that object. So this is one of the factors that we thought this implementation is much better than we were doing previously with a reference object, which was an R6 object. All right, so filter panel is also our core feature. So this is something that we also try to look into and improve. And we try to improve the behavior when setting default filters for your app. So this is great if you know your stakeholder, you work with them really well, and you kind of know what are their first step when they set up their settings for their filters. We want to accelerate that process by setting up some default filters when you make your teal app. So first we have what we call the fixed filter, where user cannot change the value of that category. You can see that there's only one value selected, but user can remove it by clicking the X icon on the top right. They can remove this filter card. Then we add another behavior, what we call an anchored filter, where a user cannot remove the filter card. So you don't see the X buttons on the top right, but user can change the value. And of course, the next thing that makes sense is that with combination of both, where you can have a fix and anchor filter, further limit user interactive ability to remove or change the values. And then finally, we introduce a custom expression. So if user needs to combine multiple conditions into one, they can use this settings. All right, so a new module we added, what we call a landing pop-up. So this is a great module if you want to display customizable disclaimer or message before accessing the app. So one of the examples that is shown here, we try to get user consent or agreement that the app should not be used for any critical decision making or submission. It should only be used for exploratory purposes. So that's one of the use cases. This is a good one. This is what we call an in-app data module, another improvement, a new feature that we introduced. Very excited about this. This is allowing the postponement of data processing until app runtime. So what it means? It means Teal developer can set up some steps, some pre-processing step, and can still whip up Teal app even the data is not ready yet. So one use case is a data upload, as you can see here. So this is a Teal app running, but it's not fully running yet because it waits for the data to be uploaded. So once a user upload their data, submit button is clicked, so that triggers the Teal framework to kicks in and ingest the data and process it. Another good use case, if you think about this, is if your data is somewhere in your internal company, requires some authentication or pull the data from some external remote area. So you could create some input boxes where you would username and password and set submit button as well to act as a trigger. Then you can do this dance between that server and the Teal app. So this is great. We also enhance our Teal Gallery website to better serve our community. We want to enable them to explore Teal app tailored to their specific use case. Again, this has been a fantastic initial step for new users to engage with Teal and just play around with it without polluting your local environment. We also put a significant effort in documentation. So whether that new vignettes that we introduce or we kind of improve our package documentation, we've done it all. I think if you haven't seen our technical blueprint, this is a great, very, very high level documentation to kind of understand fundamental Teal framework. Again, our goal is to ensure that the learning curve isn't too steep because we know when you learn a framework, it takes some time. So we want to make it easier for user to kind of absorb and understand the fundamental of the Teal framework. All right, so that's just a little bit of sneak peek what happened in the present year, and we have a lot more features that I just don't have time to cover them all. But having accomplished this great progress over the years, there's still much more that we would like to explore in our future roadmap. One thing that we were trying to look at is we want to investigate the possibility of bookmarking a Teal app. So this will be great for collaboration within our colleagues or between another Teal statistic analyst that using Teal. We made some progress in this research, and we'll just continue to look into this further. We also want to enhance the design of our Teal modules. And so if you know Teal modules, you know it's how sometimes a little bit strict and it's not too customizable. So we want to look into this. We want to prioritize flexibility. We want to prioritize extensibility and code simplicity. WebAssembly it's really, really hot these days with the arrival of Shiny Live and WebR. So we also looking into this technology, and we want to explore some potential use case to take advantage of this. And Teal Gallery and TLG Catalog, again, this is our front end user-facing content that we want user to explore. So we want to expand this by setting new examples, whatever new features that we develop in the framework. We want to surface that within these catalogs, and we just want to promote them more extensively so that users are aware of this as well. Another interesting area also that we try to look into is interactive visualization. As you know, that the modules provide this static output. So we want to see if there's a way to use with Plotly or Reactable or any other interactive visualization package interchangeably with our static output. And finally, UI UX improvement, something that we also thinking about and see how we can make the product looks better and appealing to our users. All right, so here are some resources. I just want to do a quick plug-in with the new video that we just had. If you haven't seen it already, this is great. Whether you are a new or veteran Teal developer, I highly, highly recommend this. This is a great resource to visually learn Teal, covering everything from basic to creating Teal modules. We also part of Farmerverse, so we have a Slack workspace there, and Teal have a dedicated public channel there. So that's a great place for you to come in, ask questions. If you have, the community will be gladly to answer you. And lastly, we have a Coursera course if you're interested in leveraging data science for critical reporting. All right, I think this is my last slide. Again, we're always eager to collaborate with you developing this framework. If you're interested, help us on GitHub. If you represent an organization interested in adopting teal and co-developing this, please feel free to get in touch with me. Yes, that's all I have. And I know we have a teal presentation today by one of our by Dror, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be great if you're interested. Attend this presentation to learn more about teal, more on the user side. But thanks again for your time, and let Pavel and I know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the Fuse Award. And of course, let's not forget about the crown. We do have some questions in the chat, so please, after the talk, go there and answer. But I'm dying to ask one from my side. Web are Shiny apps becoming a thing, and we also will be having that today in the keynote speaker, George. So can teal apps be built using WebR as well, maybe?
You want to take that, Pavel? I think you venture on this a little bit.
Yes, the answer is yes, of course, it can. And I even experimented this quite recently. So I can confirm that this can work. So it is both for released version of CRAN of the WebAssembly repo, as well as the development version, because if you don't know, RUniverse builds WASM binaries out like for free, and we have our packages in there, so you can pull the development version from there, and it is working as Karm. So I love it. Looking forward for more use cases.
Okay, thank you so much. Looking forward to see it somewhere around. Thank you, Pavel. Thank you, Donny, for your presentations. Comment session, comment chats, and more questions. I'll be really grateful you can answer, as there is a lot of them, and the chat is on fire. So thank you so much, Pavel. Thank you, Donny.